Hello everyone, welcome to Fish Easy on this Saturday evening. We are looking at a pair of Apistogramma agassizii. Yes, and those are fry, zipping around amongst the leaf litter. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. What we're seeing there is they may be a little shy. They do hide when they see movement, but then if you just hold still, they sort of start moving again, and then you'll see them. They stay very close to the ground, the leaf litter. Hi, Shady Grady, welcome. This is a recent spawn of Apistogramma agassizii. Hi, Sandy. Jeff made it. Gang is assembling. You can see them. They're kind of like all over the place right now. I've seen approximately a dozen fry. This is their first attempt, and I noticed just now watching him, the female's making certain gestures to the male. You can see how she turns and shivers her body towards the male. That's the girl we're looking at. She's the mother, and she takes care of the fry very closely. As you can see, there's quite a few, at least a dozen. I can't say a lot because I know that they can probably have more, but this is her first batch, so usually the first batch is always the fewest. Now there's the male. You can see his color. I don't spend a lot of time cleaning the glass when they have fry. I kind of leave them alone. You see, they were born December 7th. Today's the 14th, so they're 7 days old. So they were spotted the 7th, and they're probably, I guess it all depends on when you start counting their age, the day they hatch, if that's considered. They were wigglers for a few days. So they could be, you could really say they're 10 days old. I'll have to make a determination of what to do with these fry, because if the parents, as you can see, if they are going to start flirting with one another, and she goes and lays eggs a second time, but I don't see her doing it within a week of having her fry. But I'll keep an eye on them anyway, just because if they go down on eggs, they will get very protective of the eggs, and the fry might just disappear. So it might be best to do something to siphon them out. You can see them, they're quite small, but they're eating baby brine shrimp now. I haven't put any baby brine shrimp in here tonight. Oh, and look at this. This is the same thing. This Apistogramma pair here, he's shivering, showing off. It's got a little bit of clamp fins. The female is there. Now the female has been attacking him, and she's kind of dominant. You see her in the leaf litter there. I have not observed any fry from this pair of Hogsloii, Apistogramma Hogsloii, the yellow-red mutation. It's a red gold, really, not yellow. Red gold mutation. They're very beautiful. And over on the right, we have We do have a seasoned pair of Panduros. There's the female right there. They're always up at the glass. I haven't noticed any spawning behavior of recent times. It's been a couple of months. They kind of took a break, I guess, from when they bred before. There's the male in the back. I can see him all the way in the back. There's the female in the front. Females have gold, bodies very brightly yellowed, and the ventral fins have black on them. And I tell you, one thing that's very unique is the brightness of that ventral fin. If you look at it, it's like it's dipped in something is glowing. Yeah. So there you have it. There's 3 different apistogrammas. Tonight, I was hoping to get some time to put together some instructions on what we're doing here. And I may as well just explain right off the bat. Once when they had the fry on 12.7, I measured a pH of 5.7 and 100 parts per million TDS. 5.7, and this one's 6.4, TDS lower, and this one was 5.9, TDS lower yet. So there is no magic number. It's not as if you get to a certain number you're going to suddenly have spawning or something's going to be right. The tank on the far left, this one also has a Panduo pair. See the female back there, she's very yellow. The brightness of her yellow kind of gives you an indication of her condition. If it's super bright yellow, you know she's interested in laying eggs. She starts to become dominant. The male in this case, he's bred for us before. He's a father, but he got some fin rot, and I had to get rid of the fin rot using some antibiotics, and it worked. It stopped it, but he did lose a lot of his fins. There he is in the back. But he's a good father, and he also has bred before, so I don't worry too much about the fact that he doesn't look right. If he's going to be a good dad, and I do not believe he was with this female before, but they've matched up and they seem to be doing quite well together, as you can see. I have some younger ones down below. They're just one pair in here is paired off. That would be, let's see if I can get the light towards the front, because they're all sitting at the front, right? See if I can get some shots here. They're all coming up to the top here. These are all ready to breed, really. But you notice the females, there's mostly females in here. There's only one male, but there's only one female that's yellow. That's her. She's an older female and has bred before. Here's the male, Panduro. Here we go. Get the glare out of there. He's quite attractive, but he's got all these females to choose from, and of course he does pick the female that's the older one. But these younger ones, they're going to start breeding as soon as I put a male. I have some males for them. I just don't have tanks for them. So here we are. Well, here is another tank. This tank has a pair of dwarf cichlids also, but not Apistogramma. These are the Criviceps. You see them in the back there over the heater. They're more skittish. They don't come out as much. And you'll notice that their tank looks sort of like an Apistogramma. Basically, we're going to talk about this particular device tonight, and I'm going to show you some hacks with regards to it, and also what I'm using, and that's basically it. So welcome everyone. I hope that was a nice introduction, and I hope that you're all having a great weekend. Tonight we're going to investigate a little bit more on how to set up an Apistogramma breeding tank, and it could be used for Apistogrammas, it could be used for dwarf cichlids like you saw there, the Cordyceps. It is something that many people struggle with. They'll try to use chemicals to drop their pH, but the problem with that is that the chemicals don't stick with the water. It may raise the pH, but it doesn't stay low. It'll raise the pH and then it will have issues. So we've got to be very careful about that. So that's what we're going to do tonight, is we're going to focus on how to properly create a it's like a part of a, how should we put it, it's just like part of a piece of the Amazon River, piece of the wild, you might say. And how do you create a piece of the wild in that you're mimicking the conditions that should exist when they're breeding? Now, why is it so important? Now, some fish, even if they're accustomed to lower pH, I'll give you one case. Let's just mention the discus. Everybody knows, oh, discus, they need certain parameters. You got to have low pH, you've got to have this and that. But as it turns out, discus that have been bred in captivity, not wild-caught specimens, but in captivity for many generations, those discus tend to have much more tolerance for higher pH, and they do okay. And we've had them breeding at pHs of above 7 and still successfully hatch eggs and raise fry. But in the case of the Apistogramma, that's one that we might think twice about. And the reason being that those particular fish do have a propensity, well, they're not as many generations in captivity or in tank raised specimens as others. So it's just FYI, something to note. Hello, Jeff Pelhams, everybody. Sandy's here. And I wanted, while I'm standing here, I'll show you the difference between a couple of tanks over here. You see 4 tanks across the top. Those are very small tanks. They were really meant to be quarantine tanks, but we've got, well, first of all, on the left, there is a blue Apistogramma, very blue with some red tinging all in the lower left-hand corner. It's just a male in there right now, so he's just on hold. We're going to get him a female, don't worry. But that is a male, and he's very aggressive, so we have to be very careful when we introduce him. In fact, I'm not even going to attempt it in that small 2.5 gallon. It's 2.5 gallon. We've already had a spawn. This pair of Agassiz has spawned, but the eggs did not hatch, and the pH was high. If the pH is too high, they won't hatch. It's just the way it is. So what I did was I put in some leaves. I put in some leaves with, those are leaves from here in Canada. And since we have Diego Dominguez, bienvenido. Diego from Chile. I wonder how far you are from Mendoza, Argentina. I wonder how close you are from there. That's happens to be where my wife was born and raised. But here in this particular location. We've got another tank here. This is a pair of, again, the red gold variety. That's a pair of Hogsloi, but you'll notice there's no leaves, just water, maybe low TDS water, but the pH is going to be high. It's going to be 7 points plus. So in this particular case, it's not such a good thing if they lay, because I don't think we're going to get a hatch. So it's time to really start working with the water parameters and get them low, okay? So again, and here's our group of females. I haven't put any males with this species. I'm just making sure the females and the way they're acting and bickering with one another and chasing. I've got a good number of females in here. You see the black stripes on them? Those are not Panduros. They're also from the Bianchi group of Apistogrammas, known as Inca 50. These are Inca 50s, and they're starting to turn yellow. So I know that based on the brightness of the yellow, they're not quite mature enough to worry about right yet. So I'm not too worried about it. And the males are in a separate tank over here. So up in the top, we've got, let me see if I can zoom out. Yeah, in this tank here, we've got the male Inca 50s. Here we've got another Hogsloi. I have 3 pair in here. They're just on hold. We're going to move them probably Monday to the fish house. Here's another pair of Agassizii. This pair, as I recall, looks like, as you can see on 12.8, the measurement was 7.5 and a very high 1330. They did lay eggs, and very quickly they didn't hatch. A couple days and they're gone. She was attacking the male, and she's still attacking the male. Look at her. What I want to do though tonight, this is a pair that she's laying, and she's going to lay again. I want to fix this tank up. What's wrong with this tank? This tank has no way to lower. It's not, the pH is not low. It's too high. TDS is too high. So we're going to do something with that. And we're going to demonstrate all the ins and outs. Now over here, this is interesting on the trifasciata. That's where the blue male we were looking at, very aggressive, and there's the female. There's a pair in here. And she's been going in and out of the cave. So this is another tank that I got to do something. Let's go see if we can lower. The male is right, I don't know if you can see him. I can see him. It's right under that leaf right here. There's the end of my finger. Let's see if we can see him at a different angle. He's so dark. See him under there? He's hiding out there. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see. The filter's dark also, so he's kind of faded out. But even he comes out, he's a beautiful fish. I don't know if the female's attacking him or not. Maybe. It's possible. If she gets eggs, she might be attacking him. Let's take a quick snapshot of what's in this tank. I'm going to get my meter, and we're going to move it from, right now it's registering 5.5 in this tank. I want to write that down. 5.4 and 60 ppm. 5.4, 60, okay. And then I'm going to take the meter right now out of this tank. It was in with the Panduros. Just looking at that a minute ago. So I'm going to move it into this tank. And there we go. There's my meter. You can see it. It kind of spooks the fish a little bit, but they get used to it. They get used to this big black meter typically. Yeah, okay. So here's the issue. The TDS in this tank is 260. And the pH is around, it's around 7.0. It's a little higher, 7.1, might rise to 7.2 or 3 by the time it, usually I put it in, it jumps to close to what it is and then climbs or drops to the final count, to the final number reading. So what we're looking at is this pair is in water that is over 7.2. And honestly, oh, there's the male. Yeah. Honestly, I think that she seems to be protecting the cave, so she might have eggs already. So I may have not gotten here in time. I hope that's not the case. But we're going to go ahead, even if she does have eggs, because she might have eggs, but my dropping the pH is going to be the safe way, and it's not going to cause any issues. It takes about 36 hours to drop the pH to something closer to 5.5 to 6. And if I can get anything close to 6, I'm in the ballpark and things will go pretty well. She's sure flashing herself. She's up at the front glass now, and she's quite yellow, so this is all very good sign that this pair has laid eggs. But unfortunately, let's see what the TDS is, 7.3, yeah, 250. So no good. So we're going to do something about that. So we'll demonstrate how to drop the pH correctly. So I'm still going to put the reading here, 7.3. Slash 260. And then what we're going to do is take that reading and we're going to compare it to what we got. So here's the reading. I just wrote it down. 7.3 for the trifasciatus, 260. Let's go ahead and check the next tank. These two tanks are what we're going to target tonight. All right, so here we got what it was on the 8th was 7.5, 1330. Right now it's 1340, so it's gone up. It always goes up. And the pH is, yeah, 7.5. So this is basically, it is on the 8th. It is what it is today. And you're not, I'm not expecting it to change much on the pH level because this is basically my tap water. Or even after RO, it will drop the pH a good amount, but not helpful. Okay, so these two tanks, we need to get lower. Now, one tank has a filter box in the back, and that's what's dropping the pH, but it's not working because the numbers are too high. So we're going to have to fix that. And in this tank, we're going to take it down. Okay. Here, these guys are really big, and these Panduros are very, very friendly. Well, even these guys. These guys right here. These are the. Told you there's 3 pair of Hogsloi here, and they're very attractive, and they're looking really smart. The males with their white ventral fins. It's almost, to me, they're like wearing white tuxes, so I feel like it. But let's get to the breeding pairs, you see. And this can be used for any of these tanks. You need a box filter. You can use like a Gemco box filter. That's what that one is. And there's one in here. But basically, I like to use a smaller one. I like to use a smaller box filter, the little corner ones that we saw. You can buy these on, I can just open one up. Okay, called Aqua Papa. Here it is, the Aqua Papa. It's the ones I like because they don't take up a lot of real estate. And in small tanks, I have 2.5 gallon, 5.5 gallon, and really, I prefer 10 gallons for an Apistogramma pair and a ram pair. It's always nice, but if you don't have it, you don't have it, because that's all it fits. Actually, those tanks up there, the ones, not these ones I'm pointing at, but the ones on the other side, happen to be 4-gallon tanks. They're just smaller than a 5.5. How oddball that is. I got it from somebody shutting down their fish room, so that's all they had. And so, I mean, you can't even buy them, I don't think, now. 5 horas manejando. Okay. Well, Diego, welcome aboard. We're so glad to get somebody from Chile tonight. And you just have to cross the Andes to get over to Mendoza. 5 hours. You must be pretty close to Santiago. Let's see. Sandy. Yeah, okay. I opened the box. That's it. It looks like this. So this is it. Comes in a wrap. It's called Aqua Papa Corner Filter AQ 2008. And this is the way it comes. It's always comes poorly assembled. I say that because what I have found on all of these, like for example right here, the plastic piece on the inside tray is not clamped in right. I know why it's not clamped in right, because they put too much rocks in the bottom. And I don't know why they don't see that, and they still stuff it way over more than it should be, and it pushes it up, and it's not clamped in right. But we're going to take it apart a little bit before I use it and explain that. So first thing I do is you can take, you know what's nice about these tops is they have a one of these that goes up and then it shoots it out to the side. I'm going to tell you a little secret. In my experience, I've had these things in tanks with ram fry, and from time to time I would look at the filter and I would see small baby rams, tiny ones inside with the rocks. See that? In with the rocks? And they were captured inside there, stuck. And I couldn't figure out how they could get in, because first of all, to get in, if they got sucked up into the filter, they would be at the top and they would never make it to the bottom, because this is all filtration. It's very tight. There's no way it would get to the bottom. So I finally figured it out. If you don't have this thing on the top and it looks like that, and you're trying to just let the bubbles go straight up, and you have your airline tube coming down to this intake, what happens is that the fry, when they're swimming along, just doing their thing, and they're coming and they're just like going about their business, whenever ram fry are frightened or scared or attacked or chased, they do one thing. They dive bomb to the gravel. They go straight to the bottom of your tank. Boom. So they're just doing their happy little thing, and all of a sudden they're not so smart, and there's a series of bubbles that are going zoom, zoom, zoom. When they hit the bubble stream, it frightens them, and they dive bomb down, and they go right down the tube, past the air. They go right through the air, because when they're going in that burst of running away, they will go all the way inside the filter to the very bottom. You can see that. I don't know if you can See, you know, all the way to the bottom. This is the very bottom. Yeah. So, see that? And that's how they get inside. So this prevents that. It's a really important thing to have on there. Even if you have it low, you don't even have to have it high. You could adjust it based on the height of your tank if it's small. But it goes up and goes out. The air itself is then going out to here, then up. So if somebody comes flying down past the bubbles, they're not going to go inside the filter through the output tube. That's just a little experience thing that I couldn't figure out. So anyway, let's get back to business. We're going to take this apart. Let you see what's going on. This is the Aqua Papa. So it has a spot for connecting the tube to this piece. And it comes with three different sets of filter. It's a corner filter. It's an odd shape, which is fine. There's a white one, very coarse material. There is a black foam that is very fine. And there is a coarse black one. So we're looking at the coarse and the fine, and I use these two. The white one I don't use. I could use it in the future, I guess. Maybe I would use it for replacement of one of these, but I only need two of these because this amount of layering is going to be right in between, and I'm going to sandwich in between these two some peat moss. And we'll talk about the peat moss in a minute. So I'm just pull this out. It sits, it's like a tray, and this is your biological filtration. This is just a nice little case. Hey, Aquatic Moose, welcome. So this is a tray that fits inside the canister, as it were, or the holder. Now this is the problem. As you can see, it's not even snapped in all the way. So what I first like to do, this piece can be taken out. Believe it or not, I open this up, very easy to do because it's rarely in place, snapped into, and this is just chock full, and it's just way too full. I like to just take some of these, couple of these little things. They have rocks in. I just like the rocks. They're porous rocks, so they work the same. You don't need to have this, and I'm just gonna create a little space by taking out. They only provide like 3 or 4 of these little white. I have a pair of tweezers to make this job easier. So I'm going to just pull out the white like that. You see? If I pull that out, that makes enough space for the rocks. The rocks is all I want, is to weigh it down, provide surface area. Here we go. Now I'm going to put this right back on. This time there are tabs that I'm going to be able to do. Okay, snap, push down and snap everything into place. This front one's not snapped in. Kind of be a little forceful. A good snap, you hear the snap. Now it's really locked in. Okay, that's perfect. Now you can shake this thing and it's not going to spill. By the way, I get these, I have to order these. It's a long lead item because I buy them, I think I buy them in the States, but they're probably made in China, probably. But I don't know where you can get them on hand in Canada. There we go. So next piece is this one. Put that back in. There we go. Okay. Got the centerpiece on. Yeah. Then I can put I can do the coarse or the fine. I'm going to put the fine one. That will help prevent gunk from getting down into the lower areas. It's very tight fit, so nothing's going to get by that. No fish can get through that. It's in very tight. Now, the next thing is a layer of something that's going to cause the water to drop in pH, and that is peat. Peat moss, as water passes through it, puts out natural acidic. The properties of the peat moss, because what peat moss is decaying organic matter, will put out tannins and also drop the pH through that natural process of decaying matter. So that is why peat moss works so well. I'm going to show you what I'm using. This is a fluval. I have a box of the fluval peat moss. You can just order this. This one, peat granules. This stuff's not cheap. But what I have found is the fluval will give you a drop in the pH, but not as good as the Sarah Super Peat. Sarah Super Peat is a little superior product, but it's more expensive, definitely. It's like this box here in Canadian dollars is $80 for a box. Now, we don't need a lot of it, but for the Super Peat, it's like $80. It's not cheap. So, comes in a bag. So I have it here, and then it just looks like it's kind of light. It's not like heavy. It's not rocks. It's not silicone. It is organic matter, and it's going to be good for us. There's no need to rinse it. The organic matter that it puts into your tank is going to be good for making tannins. It'll make the fish feel like they're definitely in the Amazon. So I put a layer of this peat. There we go. Beautiful. So it's about the width of the white filter media we took out. So taking about that thickness. Then I'm going to take this and put it on the top. Now I probably don't have to. I could probably just fill the whole thing up with peat, but we'll say you get a feel for when you measure the pH. Once you'll notice that the pH is not dropping anymore, then your peat is probably exhausted, and then all I need to do is open this up, pull this top one out, take out the peat that's in there, and replace it and put it back in the tank. So this is my method right here. It will take 36 hours, a nice slow process, not sudden, like pouring chemicals into your tank. This pH down stuff is notorious for killing your fish. I don't even know why they still provide that product. I guess someone's using it for something, but I guess unless you had a continuous dosing system, which you might, that could be the only reason where I would think it would work. So here you go. This is ready to go. It is a filter that will provide in time a buildup of biological filtration through the black foam, also the rocks on the bottom, and at the same time it will put in peat. Now, if you just pour peat in your tank, I've done that before, and it just makes a mess. And I mean, it doesn't hurt the fish other than how do you clean it? This keeps it confined, keeps it all together, There are other methods. You could just put it into like a pantyhose sock, and you could wrap it in or tie off the end and just hang it in your tank. I know a lot of pleco breeders that do it that way. But this one is going to be a forced air. So this one's pulling the water across the peat. And that's what I like about it. So there you have it. We've got our pH reducer. Now also on top of that, we're never going to be able to drop the peat if there's too much hard water in the tank. The TDA is too high. It will act as a buffer and prevent the pH from dropping. So what we're going to do is we're going to use RO water in this case, because we're trying to make the water very soft, meaning low TDS, and we're going to lower the pH. pH minus, and killed almost all my fish. Yeah, Diego, don't use that stuff. I guess I use it because everybody wants to get pH lower, and that's what they try to do, but it's no good. This method is foolproof because as you're doing water changes. So for example, now that my eggs have hatched with the, we saw earlier with the Apistogramma agassizii, right up there, we were just looking at those fry. I can do water changes, and I can start using tap water, and I could even pull this out. Because the fry can be raised in a higher pH. It is the hatching of the eggs that makes all the difference in the world. If you want to have success, if you want to sea fry at all, that's what you need. On top of the soft water and the peat filtration, the next thing I do is create an environment that is very much like the bottom of the Amazon, where the leaves, all that leaf matter dumps into the river. It piles up. Apistogrammas are notorious to be found among the leaf litter, and this is what you need to provide. So you can use all kinds of leaves. You can purchase at aquarium.biz. You can purchase the catappa leaves or Indian almond leaves. You can purchase guava leaves. You can purchase also cinnamon leaves. The cinnamon leaves, I don't think, are going to be as effective at dropping the pH as the other two, but it does have some very nice healing properties. The cinnamon leaves, they smell good too, but you know, they're very good. Apart from that, what you see in my tanks, a lot of them, is also this leaf. Let me grab one for you. I have a bag of them here. Let's see if I can pull it out. A group of them. I use these leaves. What are they? These are not maple leaves. These are oak leaves. Specifically, I use the leaves from the red oak tree. That species seems to do really spectacular. Now this leaf here, for example, was harvested about 1 year ago or 2 years ago. So every year, about, shall we say, Halloween time, I know some trees that are red oak trees, large trees that dump their leaves, and I can run over there at the end of October and gather them up, several bags full. So you get a big trash bag full of these leaves. And the interesting thing about the red oak is that I like the pattern. You notice that it's got a lot of little holes. And so you put it in the tank, and for about 3 days it floats until it becomes waterlogged, and then they sink. So initially I might put them in a breeding tank, and it will provide some nice cover, and they will begin to break down. They start rotting. I avoid, there is some that I put in here, and I want to show you. Diego, you started using a lot of almond leaves and bags in the water change since even using a RO filter water, the results about 40 TDS and 7. Well, if it's a 40, my tap comes from almost 900 TDS here. Wow. Yeah, you got liquid rock. Yeah, so you start with 40 TDS, but if the leaves have been rotting in your tank for a good amount of time, it should drop the pH. I'm thinking it should anyway. I'm going to show you. We're going to take a look at some leaves right now, these red oak leaves. Now, these red oak leaves were put in the tank when I was trying to provide a lot of cover for the fish. And she did lay eggs, and I didn't catch it in time, but I threw the leaves in there. And there's some, you see the hornwort floating plants, but the leaves now are beginning to sink, but they're kind of floating, as it were. But it's kind of neat because even what it will do is, in a small tank, create a billion little crevices and holes, and the fish just love going in and out of the leaves. And as the leaves decay, I can just keep adding more leaves. Okay, what does that do? Let's go now look at a tank. Here's a tank right here that has the panduros in it. Let's see. Oh, I'm zoomed in, that's why. Let's kind of zoom out a second. There we go. Now these leaves are no longer floating, but still along the bottom you see they're kind of propped up. When I first put them in there, there looks like those little lines you see on the leaves. Believe it or not, that is detritus worms. There's all kinds of little animals that live on the decaying matter that the adult fish don't bother with, but it provides a lot of food for the young fry that hatch. But these leaves, look at all it's like a cave system. Okay, let's go over to the next one. We're going to go over here. Just look at the one that we have the fry in. The fry love it, and they've got protection. If I was going to pull out the fry, I might even have to pull out the leaves one by one, but I just let them, the leaves are just put in there and they drop down. Now, a couple days, in some tanks, but not all, the leaves will develop a fungus. It is not a fish fungus. It's not the kind of fungus that is going to bother the fish, but I noticed that it goes through a cycle, and these leaves might have white fungusy look growths, and it will last for several days. But in the end, I'm looking for some right now to zoom in on. I don't see any. But in the end, it will go away. In this tank, what you can see is all the leaves have dropped to the bottom, but they've developed quite a cave. Now, they're sitting on top of the cave that is in this tank. I have a cave that they can find. The hole or opening for that cave is well hidden. And believe me, they find it. She finds a cave and it's like, becomes her home. This one, you can't see it either, the cave. All I know is that one day she was out with her babies. Looks like on this one. No, I don't see it. I'm looking for that fungusy white stuff. I saw some earlier, but I can't remember what tank it was. And that's part of the problem. It's like you see something and then if you don't take note. Now notice the breakdown of the detritus worms on these as well. They produce little lines, but they're decaying. Notice the color of the water as well. It's got a lot of tannins, and these pop-up filters are just working away, making it 5.4. We just measured that a few minutes ago. This one's 5.4. Now, the difference between the Sarah peat and the fluval peat, believe it or not, the Sarah peat will drop your pH to 4.7. It will go down to 4.7 and stop. I didn't believe it when I was told this, and I thought, yeah, right, why wouldn't it just keep crashing, right? But it doesn't keep crashing. It holds it at 4.7. I don't know how it does it. It might be the kind of peat it is, and that's why it is to be really successful. I'm looking, I don't see any other leaves that have this. Okay, so anyway, I'm just warning you that decaying leaves in your tanks are a good thing if you're trying to bring down or make a very natural. There's usually some live plants in there too. This one has, it looks like subwasser tang. It did have some other floating plants. They seem to have died off. It doesn't look like the hornwort is lasting very good in here. It still might take off. It might just not be the right conditions for hornwort, but that's okay. I find that subwasser tang, or I have also the moss. Let me go down here. This moss here works very good in these tanks. Providing a billion places. This is, I think this is just regular. It's not Christmas moss. I think it's the regular Java moss. I got a little mixture over here too. It's kind of mixed up in this one. But you can see a pile of this stuff. You can imagine how the babies can really protect themselves. They dive in and out of this. So it's really not bad at all. So that's it. So adding leaves is important. Let me put that on here. There's no need to crunch these up. These are very brittle. You can hear it, how brittle they are, but that's because they have to be dried for about a year. You have to be completely dry. It depends. If you're just going to let them hang out in the garage or whatever in a bag, an open bag, shall we say, then yeah, you can do it in the garage, but just let it sit a year. If you had a warm place, if you had like a dryer of some sort, you could probably do it in much less time if you needed to. But by harvesting once a year, all the bag I need for the entire year, all my tanks, that's all I need to do is just harvest the right, a huge amount, knowing that you never know. So tonight, that's what's going to happen here. I hope you enjoyed this talk. This tank and this tank, we're going to put in brand new peat in the first one, and this one's going to replace the sponge filter. We're going to replace it with this. We're going to add leaves, and we're going to watch the pH. So if you're a member of this channel, what I will do is, after setting it up, we're going to take the numbers down tonight, and we're going to look at it. I'll post some members only updates, and you'll get it as soon as I get it posted, like in the next day. We're going to see measurements drop from the pH that's in there after I do the water change, and we're going to see how quick it drops down to something under 6. So hopefully that's the goal, is to get it to 6-ish, under 6, or maybe a little above 6.0. And that's okay. If it drops down even further, that's even better. When I had my tanks, I was breeding Panduros in 4.7, 4.8. Fish do not at all mind it. They seem very happy. I think they like the decaying matter. I think they like the environment. I think it's very natural for them. It's where they're from. And so I don't have any fears. Now, if you take the chemicals like pH down and some of these others, you drop it down to, it's going to drop very quickly. You start pouring this stuff in, it's going to just drop the pH, boom, 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 and then a few hours later, it's going to go boom, 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 right back up again. And that's why those chemicals are not safe, because they're swinging the pH. What we want is to bring those tanks down to 5-ish and leave them there. We really want to leave them. So here's a question. Since I didn't see any questions, maybe maybe some people are doing. I didn't even see that there were questions being posted. I have a question for you guys. Yeah, so there's no need to change the water under those circumstances. I'm going to mention this for Diego's help. When you have pH, why are you lowering or changing the water? A lot of times it's because you want to get rid of the nitrates, right? I have just one small pair in a tank. There's not going to be a lot of nitrate buildup. If it's ammonia changing into nitrites, which is changing into, if we go into the cycle, nitrification cycle, when you get too much ammonia buildup, it's true, that'll kill your fish. But did you know that the process doesn't work in low pH? In other words, it doesn't kill at low pH. That's what I'm trying to say. It still works. It's still a nitrification process. But any ammonia is converted at such low pH into a different kind of compound that does not kill fish. So it's okay to have very, very limited. In fact, what I'll do is, as the water level goes down, I will just replace with RO water, and I'll just top it off with RO water so I don't try to raise too much of the TDS until they get fry. And then, of course, it's the slow process of going back. But here's a question. And here's my question to you. How do I take out those fry? If I'm going to siphon them out, how do I do it? And put them in another tank when I don't have another tank that's of the same low pH? The answer? Gradually. So how do I gradually do it? I use this device here. When I siphon them out, I use the tank water they're in, and I put them in one of these hang on the side or hang on the back overflow breeder boxes. So I hang this on the side, I start dripping them with drips, drip, drip. So first I give them a good amount of the pH. So I put them on a tank that it doesn't matter, and I want to bring the pH up to regular tap water so that they can grow up in my regular tap water, so I don't have any wild changes of pH. So remember, it's the wild changes or swinging of the pH that kills fish. It's not that high. You could have pH of 8.0 and you could raise Apistogrammas, discus, everything. You can do it. They'll grow, they'll do it, but the point is, whatever your tap is, whatever that ends up being, that's what your goal is, to raise them in that, so that you're not dealing with the pH issue. You're just changing the water, and what comes out of the tap or your well or wherever water you have is going to be exactly that. It's going to have a flushing out effect, so you get fresh water. But that's how I do it. I just drip. So I'll just put them on the side and I'll leave them. They're usually small fry, and I'll just leave them in this for a while. Now, when it comes to apistogrammas. If I'm using one of the large size, I'll take one of the larger ones. This is a small, or actually it's a medium, but it's like, this is the smaller size that I have. And in this case, this is the one that is a little bigger. When I put apistogrammas in one of these, I always put some sand on the bottom because they are extremely skittish. They like to hide in the foliage. So I'll put some Java moss, a little wad of Java moss in here, and I'll put a sand bottom so they can pick at things at the bottom. But the important thing is that they feel secure. And if you had an open bottom clear like this, they feel like they're hanging up in the air. They can't get to the bottom because they're looking down and they're seeing the floor of your fish room. So it only makes sense that those fish, now this is not applicable to rams, don't care, angelfish don't care. These are animals that no problem, but apistogrammas, they care. So if you have apistogrammas and you're raising them and you get the fry out, and I would just siphon right into one of these and grow them a little bit larger. Once I make that first transition, they stay in the breeder box until they're eating good, they're eating well, and they stay together as a group. And then maybe down the road, they'll go into a tank, and I'll just pick up the breeder box, whatever tank I'm going to put them in, let it drip again until the parameters of the tank are exactly the same as the breeder box, and then I can dump them into the tank. So I give you a little tip for down the road once you get your apistogrammas breeding. Okay, so more questions. Let me pick up on some of the questions. Yes, you did, as Xanadu, you did miss. I prefer the tank size of 10 gallons. That allows you to put a lot of leaves. That allows a lot of space for the female to run from the male and the male to run from the female. Sometimes it's either way. It could go whichever direction. You know, female's aggressive towards the male because she's got eggs or babies. The male is chasing after the female because he wants to breed and she's not ready. You've got to protect the other partner. So what I use is lots of leaves and also lots of hiding spaces. This thing, don't shove it up in the corner. I know it's a corner filter, but don't shove it up in the corner. Allow it to be a nice barricade for the fish to get behind there and away from their partner, because otherwise the stress will kill them. So they need those hiding spots. So you get as many hiding spots as possible. They'll come out. The more hiding spots you have, the more they come out. That's always the case. They don't feel nervous. You have a bare tank, you know, and they stress out. So even in those tanks where I just have some quarantining going on, I also threw in a bunch of hornwort on the top of the tank. And so the hornwort, over here, the hornwort isn't doing well, but over there, we were looking just now, you notice that all the tanks are full of hornwort and they're doing very well. I don't know, I'm not an expert on hornwort, but I have noticed that sometimes it dies out on me and sometimes it grows lushly. And I don't know exactly all the parameters that make it go one way or the other, and I can't figure it out. Sometimes I just put it in tanks and find out which tanks it likes, and I let it grow in those tanks. But that's good cover. And when they feel underneath that hornwort, they feel like they've got cover, they're doing great. The leaves, when they're first put in the tanks, provide the cover. So back to the question. 10 gallon provides more space, more hiding, more. I think it's just a better size. However, I have been successful, very successful, breeding them in 5.5 gallons, which is what you see here, and the 4 gallons, which we saw a moment ago with the fry in it. And I've had breeding going on in the 2.5 gallons. But in those cases, I make sure if you had a 2.5 gallon, you got to have a lot of space or places for the fish to hide. They must be protected. because that's just not a lot of space for the fish to get away from the other one that's pursuing them. Very important. I don't recommend it, but that was what when we got the fish, we had to have quarantining going on, and so that was the tanks I used for quarantining because they were available, and I haven't got the breeder set up, so I don't know if you want to see this, but this will give you an idea. I have a tank here, not even got water in it. I got a tank there, and so I got 4 tanks to go into a shelf down below. This shelf needs to be worked on. Got to get the tanks. There's the 3rd tank there. I want to replace one of these 20-gallon longs with 3 or 4 tanks again. So again, there's lots of work to be done in this room, and so that's the reason why it's just not done, because it takes time, energy, and I'm exhausted running a fish farm, as it were. And I say that because yes, I'm supporting my business partner, Aqua Malik, and we're working together supporting some 250 tanks, some of them very large, holding discus, and others, if hang around the channel if you want to see some of these things and some of the tanks. We have shown them on past live streams, so you can go back and see all the different tanks we have and different species of fish we're working with. But here in this particular fish room, this is my nursery, and we've got lots of tanks. While you're here, since you just got my mental juices flowing, just give you an update on the barbs that we bred. Here is a couple weeks ago. These are checkered barbs and the rosy barbs. There weren't many rosy barbs, maybe a dozen. I moved them into this tank to combine them with checkered barbs because they can grow up together. This tank's got a good number, maybe, I don't know, 50, 60 fish. This tank has probably 50. These are albino cherry barbs. They're really neat looking. And there's a good number in here. When I feed them, look down below. You can see those orange spots. They're below the grill, picking at the floor. I could pull out that grill at this point. Unfortunately, our tetras didn't do so well. I need more experience working with them. I'm going to have to put them back together. These are penguin tetras. There's only now about 4 or 5 left that I can see. There's one hanging out right here in the front, but I don't trust it. It looks like it's got swim bladder issues. There's one in the corner there. There's just not that many. And I provided plenty of very small food, and they were eating and they were living. They lived up to this point, but I think as some people have pointed out, tetras often are light sensitive. So in the next go around, I am definitely going to darken the tank and cover it from the light. We're not going to let light. I just have the lights on right now because we're doing the live stream. But honestly, barbs have no problem with the light, but I think it's the light. So we're going to have to do something about that for the tetras, because I want to produce these in a batch, get a good number of them. I really do. I don't want to deal with onesie twosies. I can't raise 1 or 2 little tetras and call it successful. So I want to see a good group of them. And that was probably the problem with the we were unsuccessful with the rummy nose. We'll give that another shot again. Might, if I can, maybe try it in a 10-gallon. But anyways, I hope I answered your question. I prefer the 10-gallon Xanadu, and I think that that's more ideal. It also depends on the species. The Panduros are not that bad. They're more tank raised, so they're a lot calmer. They come up to the front glass and beg for food. That's how I know how domesticated they are. With them, a smaller tank, they do fine. On the other hand, the Inca 50s, they're definitely more wild and skittish. And I would think that a larger tank would be good. I would say for those, I would recommend a 10-gallon minimum for a pair. And the way you do the pair is you take 2 or 3 females, put them in there, let them get settled in, find their hiding spots and everything, then introduce one male and see which female he picks, or she picks the first female to pick the male. She'll go in and out of the cave, whichever one dominates the cave, and then take out the other 2 and do it that way. Never go to the store, buy 2, a male, a female, and think you've got a breeding project. You should always have multiple if you want to be successful. You can just get a pair if you just like the fish, and if they breed along the way, then fine. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But maybe you lose one and then you'll have no breeding possibilities. So my advice is always start with, something like 5, 6 pair, and you have something to work with. If you're trying to breed them for sure, if you really want to be successful at it. In the case of the Apisto, it's a small one, the blue one, the trifasciata. The trifasciata, they are so aggressive, and I would not recommend a small tank for those. So depending on the species of Apistogramma that you're working with, you may have to go. And I have read many times people trying to breed some of the more exotic Apistogrammas, like the Elizabeth, I don't even know how to say it. Anyway, that particular one, there are some like that one that very few people have had success with, and they don't recommend anything less than a 30 or 40 breeder size aquarium. And that's because they need their territory and they need to be set up in a nice big place. And that's the only way to successfully handle them. So it's something to think about. Definitely the size of the tank matters. So I hope that answers your question. My recommendation is get the largest you can, but if you have to go with smaller, also analyze what breed you have. So yeah, small fluctuations of water. Thanks for the advice for Diego. Yeah, and Jeff, your harvest window this year is in the fall, and obviously if you missed it, you have to wait a year, right? And there's trees everywhere, right? Yeah. Yeah, driftwood too is good. I like the driftwood because it adds tannins to the water, so you'll notice pieces of wood in my tanks, and so with the Apistos especially. Oh, well, that's interesting. Jeff says one of my male Agassiz fire reds killed the female overnight. He was actually parenting the fry more than her. Wow. Yes, that is something you have to watch out for. I imagine, I'm sure you had lots of hiding spots in that place, but it could be that he was protecting the fry, and this is the love-hate relationship amongst Apistogrammas. They love each other when it comes time to raise or to make the eggs and to get the fertilization. They get into this mode of, I need you and you need me, and let's together make some babies. But once that's over, the female guards the eggs even from him, but he guards the area and stays outside and patrols against other fish. So they kind of work as a team in somewhat of a manner, but I've always saw that she attacks him as well. So it's important to watch closely when those periods occur. Look for any torn fins, and once there's torn fins, then it's getting vicious. I've seen them like right now tonight. We were watching this pair of Agazizi right here. And when I saw this pair on the video, I don't know if you saw it, but I saw it when I was showing you. The female was attacking the male. She is very strong, but he was okay. He's not in danger yet. So I'm just going to keep a close eye on the pair and making sure. If he's huddled up in the corner, especially up in the corner, what I will often use is a box. I don't like to take him away from his mate. I use this box. Where did I put it? I have one here. Let me get it for you. Yeah, I have one up here, ready to go at any moment's notice. And here it is. So I will just set this in inside, put a piece of moss in the middle, and put the male in here. That's to protect him. He can't get out, she can't get in, but they can see each other, and that's the important thing. So they still see each other. They can't tear each other's fins up, but they're not losing that relationship. So then after, like say, the fry are gone, I will then reintroduce. But why do I use this? You can also put styrofoam in these what these are like holes for the air, so that it will float better. But if you stuff it with a piece of styrofoam on both sides, it works great, and it really will stay up. But this is my timeout box. I have used the little ones. Remember, I had those with the rams. Those are very useful. I have little timeout boxes that are just little soap dishes that have suction cups. They work good to put at the top of the tank at the level. And I wish I could recall what I did with those. I'll tell you why. I used to have them in the tanks, and I should probably reinstate it, but I'm not sure what I did with them right now. And I wonder, I'm glad you brought it up. The reason why, I have a ton of them somewhere. Huh. Oh, it must be, they're in the back of the shelf there somewhere. But what those are, I'll tell you something about those. Those particular, they're like suction cups that go on the side, very small, and they have holes in them, and they're used for putting your scratch pad in your sink. You know, it's on the wall, and you use. And what I do is I like to put those down just below the surface, the water level, so that when a fish is being pursued, he's trying to find a spot. Sometimes he'll go up and go inside. Once he's inside, he thinks he's protected because he's got this wall around him. And it saves a lot of lives, because once they're in there, they just stay there because they're being harassed. And the pursuing fish sees them through the bars and tries to get to them through the bars and can't get to them. They don't think to go over the top. They're not like intelligent to think, oh, there's a way in there, I just have to pursue it. But the pursued fish is looking for any little crevice or something to hide in. So it will go to the top and go in because it sees that as a possible hiding spot. That's why it works. And so it's like a little safety net. Anyway, that's something. I'll show you that maybe once I find. The next time I find those, we'll show those off, because they really work well for saving a fish and in aggressive situations. Xanadu, is a 20 long too big? No, 20 long is beautiful. I have 3 of them right here. 20 long. I have. Yeah, I'm going to put. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm still moving things around, I would use a 20 long. I like 20 longs. Even it depends on your fish. If I have a 20 tall here, 20 regular. It's like a 20 tall, they call it. And the 20 tall is good for discus. A 20 tall is perfect for breeding angelfish. But a 20 long is shorter and longer for fish that need more real estate. And so for me, a 20 long is ideal for raising Apistos. You can set up a lot of hiding spots in those. And Night Owl Aquatics has joined us. Thanks. David's Aquatics too. Wow, everybody's joined us here. We got not many thumbs up. I guess I'm not saying the right stuff. But thank you all for your thumbs up of those who have. Yeah, okay, Xanadu, I agree with you. The 40 breeder is way too big. However, what I was talking about was specifically certain kinds of apistogrammas that really require it. And the real fancy tailed lyre tail top, you know, that one, I know people recommend something as big as a 40-gallon. Now, a 30-gallon, there is such a thing as a 30-gallon breeder, and they're hard to find in some cases, but yeah. McMastery, well, the red-shouldered golds that we have quite a few of those. I don't have any in this room. They're in the other fish house. And those red-shouldered golds, we did them in 10-gallon tanks. They did just fine. They do just fine. The McMastery do get bigger, you know, a pretty good size, but the Inca 50 female kept the male in the corner. The flame red just kept her away from the fry at times. It wasn't even consistent. So you have an Inca 50 with a flame. So you got multiple kinds of apistogrammas in the same tank? That's what I understand. That's interesting. No, that's not what it is. Let me read that again. The Inca 50 female kept the male in the corner. Oh, okay, that's in one tank. But in the flame red, just kept her away from the fry at times. It wasn't even consistent. Okay. Well, yeah, I can tell you about behaviors as well, Jeff, because in even the Panduros, every pair had its own personality. Every pair was a different. I had one pair that simply awesome. Awesome parents, both the male and female, never a problem, raised batch after batch after batch. And we just sold most of those batches off the tails and scales in Toronto. They're over there now. A lot of those fish, they came from this great pair that just kept outputting. And then the other pairs would eat the fry. And they would bring out the fry, and the fry would just start disappearing slowly and surely. I think that one of the reasons why was because the female wanted to go back down on eggs, or the male was pushing her to do so, and so because as soon as the fry were gone, they had eggs again. You know, it was like, okay, they didn't quite get the concept. You know, it seemed like new discus breeder pairs, young ones that don't know what they're doing. They often lay eggs every week. They lay eggs every week, but every time they lay eggs, they eat the eggs, or every time it goes a little different, the fry get on their backs, and they get irritated by these fry eating on their backs, on the sides of their wall, you know, the mucus coating on their skin. And so the discus often will do that. They just start, okay, a week's up, time's up. You know what? I gotta lay eggs again. So I'm just gonna eat all you little babies. You know, you're just in the way. So the moment they lay eggs, you know, gobble, 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 and they start over again. They keep doing that. It's very irritating. But we're trying some different things. We're trying to get them on baby brine shrimp as soon as possible, so that we don't take that chance. If you want to preserve. Now, there is a different line of thinking when it comes to breeding fish. And one is, when you don't have a lot of something, you just like have 2 or 3 pairs, and you're trying to get it established, it might be wise to take the young out as soon as possible. Not too early, but as soon as possible. So as soon as they're on baby brine shrimp, it might be wise to take them out and artificially raise them, because that's your backup. Once you've got 3 or 4 tanks full of fish, you can go ahead and leave them in longer with the parents and give the parents a rest. You say, just give them, let them raise some more, because you might not have the grow out space for it, which is okay, maybe you do, but maybe you don't. And so if you don't want to take them out too early. And you also wanted the female to raise the babies, and she won't go down on eggs. By that time, she's done 2 or 3, and so she gets the idea, hey, protecting the babies is, part of the process, and I'm going to get involved in that. So that gives you an idea of what the thinking is. So sometimes you want to pull the fry, and other times you shouldn't pull the fry. And it's not just a matter of pulling them as quick as you can, because like in the case of angelfish, everybody knows that if you just pull the eggs and artificially raise them, after several times of laying eggs and they just disappear, the parents stop laying. But what we do is they lay the eggs, they hatch the eggs, the fry go free swimming, and when they go free swimming, we let them stay in there for a little while. As soon as they start outgrowing the tank, because there's a lot of them, usually they have big spawns, like 200 fish. The tank is full. That's the time we get the fry out, and then the parents had a chance to raise fry a little bit. They go back on eggs immediately. So they continually lay eggs and raise fry. But if you keep pulling the eggs, they sort of getting smart, and they're saying, well, what's going on here? If I lay eggs, they're going to just disappear. However, we have a few pairs of angelfish that no matter what you do, it doesn't matter. They're going to eat those eggs. And sometimes they'll eat them just hours after they lay them. And so there's nothing you can do except to pull the eggs and then hope they lay. And that's happened. We have a marble pair that just produces like nothing other, but they will eat the eggs every time. So they took a break. They stopped laying for a while, but they started laying again. I have a batch here. Let's look at them right now. This is a batch of angelfish from that pair right here. And there's a good number. It was a huge batch. These are angelfish that are on baby brine shrimp. I'll feed them again tonight, baby brine shrimp, but being in this 2-liter bottle. This is at the time, once they start eating baby brine shrimp, about 2 or 3 days, max 3 days, but maybe 2 days. After 2 days, we'll put them in a breeder box so they get fresh water cycling. But right now, they're just slowly starting to eat. And there's nothing dead. The fry are doing great right now. But this water will go foul with so many fish scarfing down baby brine shrimp, and that's why I have to put them, but I never can leave it very long. This is from 11. No, I'm sorry, that's 12/4. That's not 11/4. I goofed on the month, change of month. Anyway, that's 12/4. So they're about 10 days old now. So yeah, these guys are ready for a breeder box. On the other hand, these were laid in a community tank. That's another reason. This is a koi pair, and they laid on the walls of a community tank. So there were a bunch of other koi fish in the tank. So guess what? We just left them in there, and they protected the eggs until they hatched. The moment they hatched, they were stuck on the wall, just wiggling, and I took a airline hose and just sucked them out, got the fry out, and then, because they were in a community tank, they'd be all gobbled up in no time. But that wasn't a plan. This is you might say, but these are wigglers. These are not being fed. There's not much to do there. Just wait until they go free swimming. But a good number, as you can see. And so those will be sold. So that's it. In a nutshell, while I'm here, I'm just going to turn around and let you see super red plecos on a cucumber. There's the pleco, I don't know, is that a condo? It's really a bio ball, but I use them as pleco hides. Baby plecos love it, and it provides a nice little spot. Each one gets its own little area to protect. Kind of neat. And here too, these guys are doing well. These are a little bigger. These are a little older. These were siphoned out of the tank. They got into the tank before we could pull them out of the cave, but these came out of a cave. Got more of them out before the other fish got to them. So yeah, so that's it. I think I've exhausted pretty much everything there is to talk about how to set up a Apistogramma breeding setup. The best I have found using a special filter. If you're just joining us now and you didn't see how I put this together, I recommend you just watch the replay. If you're watching the replay, of course, make a comment below. You're on the replay crew, so we know that you're still interested in the content. And it looks like we could use a few more thumbs up, but okay, well, I did the best I could tonight. We've got a lot of things to do tonight. We're going to go ahead, and after I sign off, I'm just going to put the filters in there and start monitoring the drop in the pH. And I'm going to pick out, I think I'm going to do some, tonight we need to do some checking on these fry. I think I could even move those angels to a breeder box, well, today or tomorrow, definitely. And what else? Oh, and right behind me, we've got now 1, 2, because I moved the rosies over. I've got 1, 2, 3 tanks here on the workbench that are ready for breeding again. I'm definitely going to put my Odessa barbs together because Odessa barbs, I want to see some fry. Because that's another example of, I like to have my breeders, and somewhere in the fish house, there's got to be a tank of fry growing up. So in case there's a crash, something happens, it's not all is lost. So those fish I don't have, we sold off all the fry I have. And I think even there's some people requesting some. And so we got to get the pairs together breeding so that in 4 months we can have some young Odessa barbs for sale. What else? Oh, I didn't show you the new arrivals. It's more of a, check on them first. I'll show them to you, but the water is not right. The lighting is not good. But I'll show them to you. These are a breeding project. They're not really meant for... Okay, here we go. These just arrived this week. They are... Anybody want to take a shot? Huh. New takers? What are these? Come on, everybody. You've been in my fish room long enough to know. It's nothing new, but it's a color variant that I think is awesome. Nope, not tinfoils. I had tinfoils when I was in California. They were pretty awesome. These guys are just going to have to give them their quarantine process. But these are all males. That gives you a big hint. They only had males because that's all they were sent, because somebody doesn't want you to breed them. But I got them because I have females in the long fin version. So I just gave it away. These I want to cross into with the long fins, and I'm going to get this super, these are called blood red. Obviously a barb. These are blood reds, and under better lighting, they look even darker red. They're just amazing. Right, the lighting I'm using right now is just, there is no lighting actually, it's just the room lighting. and it's not showing them off very well, but they get blood red, I mean dark red. And these are regular finned. So here's the male counterpart, the long fin variety. So you can see I have the long fin. I'll just take the females, which are not here. This is my barb tank. It's pretty good. They always active, always a chomp full. And down here are the females. Now the females, whoops, sorry. Females, as you can see, have long fins, but they don't have the red color. They're just gold. They're attractive fish, actually, even like this. I think the long fin variety, long fin makes them very attractive. But the long fin is a dominant trait. So I want to see what happens if I cross them. Yeah, I might get both regular finned and long finned. And I want to see if I can bring in some of that blood red in there. You're trying, I know, you're trying so hard. Those are rosy barbs. Just stock rosy barbs, but they come in a lot of different variants, and you can get rosy barbs in the copper. They have a copper variant. They have also this in particular, I'm looking at the blood red variant. So there's and then the ones that I have before, males and female, are neon red or neon rosy barbs. The neon I've always found to be they're kind of like on the lightish red side. So what I'm trying to do is, wouldn't it be nice if we had something as dark and red as the blood reds, but with long fins? If I can develop my own strain of that, I think they would sell. Yeah, most definitely. All right, everyone. I'm sorry you're just joining tonight. You're going to have to watch the replay. I'm sorry. We've been online for over an hour and a half, and we've got a good number of you have been online from the beginning. Thank you so much for staying with us. And what we were going to be doing is I'll give you updates throughout the week on our pH project, and so watch the replay on this one if you're interested. I'll also put out a video. Tonight's recording isn't conducive for a good making into a video, because I'm stopping in the middle, I'm answering questions. So this is the forum where you and I can, people can ask questions. Tank size, we can get into depth on it. This is your opportunity to find out things, ask questions, and when you see something you don't know exactly what's going on there, you're welcome to find out about it, right? But on the other hand, to really give a nice quick video on this particular subject, this was just a practice run. So maybe tomorrow I will shoot the video and post it, which will be a concise discussion on what we did just tonight for future reference. Sometimes I don't know why, but people don't go back and watch live streams. I think maybe it's just too long. Maybe an hour, watching an hour and a half for what could be said in 15 minutes, edited, of course, is better. So people don't go back and watch live streams. So I'm not putting out enough good content out there, if you know what I mean. So that's why I want to do it, okay? Yes, hit the like before you leave. I appreciate that very much. So much has happened in the last number of days, and this year is no exception. And a lot of things happened this year, and we're going to be entering into 2025, and we're focusing on the Apistogrammas this year. So this is going to be interesting to see where we get with this. We have right now probably I can think of 20 tanks that right now are empty, no water in them. So our efforts in the next few weeks, I think, will be to get those tanks up and running, because every time you have a tank and a space for a tank and it's not producing fish, you're losing money. So that's the name of the game. If we're not producing, the Apistogramma is how can we keep the lights on, right? So that's the what we're going to have to do. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining tonight. And I hope if you have any questions, put them down in the comments below, because I do respond to every comment that's been posted on my videos. I still do that. I do it personally, and I do it pretty much as I can. Yes, Ron Cat is now joining us, and I've been in communication with Ron Cat 2019 Cotter for most of this week, and so good to have you with us, but we're signing off. Watch the replay. Hope you enjoyed yourself, everyone, and thank you so much for visiting Fish Easy on a Saturday night. Keep it real.